I'm Beth Joey and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, welcome, welcome. This is the channel where I paint my face, turn my camera on and talk about some books. Before I get into anything about the content of this video, what I'm planning on doing in this video, I just wanted to send a very quick message out to the world, to everybody watching, and that is the biggest thank you in the world. This weekend I hit my 300 subscriber goal, and this was my goal for the whole of 2023, and it is like the 4th of March. I think it was the 3rd of March when I hit this goal, and I was just flabbergasted by the fact that my goal for the year was like complete in March. That is all thanks to you guys. That is all thanks to everybody watching this. This is completely all you guys, and I want to say so many thanks to everybody that has subscribed, everybody that's watched my videos, shared it with other people, all that sort of thing. I'm so grateful. It might be a small goal for some, but for me it was huge. So thank you to everybody that has subscribed. But enough with the gushy stuff, enough with all that. Today I want to do a vlog as a bit of a celebration, I guess, for hitting 300 subscribers, but also because I genuinely don't know what to read next. I'm in this position where I really want to read. I'm in a really big reading mood at the moment, which is great. I just want to go through book after book after book. I think I read 3 books in 3 or 4 days over the last couple days, so I'm in a mood to read, but I don't know what I want to read. So you guys are witnessing the return of the spinning wheel, which if you saw my TBR video for March, you know that this particular wheel did me absolutely dirty, but I am determined for this wheel to redeem itself, I guess. So what I've done is I've put all the books that are on my TBR for March, as well as a couple of the other books that I wanted to read this month. I've not included books like Malibu Rising and a couple others because I've already finished them, but this is all the books that I'm essentially planning to read in March on this wheel, and we're just going to use this to select what we're going to read next. So let's get this ready to go and spin the wheel and find out what we're going to be reading, which is going to be Orange, The Deal by Elle Kennedy. So I'm gonna go get that book. Okay, so The Deal by Elle Kennedy, a nice easy sports romance to start the week off well. So as for what this is about, it follows Hannah Wells. And let's be honest, I'm just gonna read you the blurb. It says, she's about to make a deal with the college bad boy. Hannah Wells has finally found someone who turns her on, but while she might be confident in every other area of her life, she's carrying around a full set of baggage when it comes to sex and seduction. If she wants to get her crush's attention, she'll have to step out of her comfort zone and make him take notice, even if it means tutoring the annoying, childish, cocky captain of the hockey team in exchange for a pretend date. And it's going to be oh so good. All Garrett Graham has ever wanted is to play professional hockey after graduation, but his plummeting GPA is threatening everything he's worked so hard for. If helping the sarcastic brunette make another guy jealous will lift his grades and secure his position on the team, he's all for it. But when one unexpected kiss leads to the wildest sex of both of their lives, it doesn't take long for Garrett to realize that pretend isn't going to cut it. Now he just has to convince Hannah that the man she wants looks a lot like him. I think I love this trope ever since I saw it in that movie with Katherine Heigl, and the guy who was in this, like the guy who said like, this is Sparta in the 300 or something like that. I cannot remember the names for the life of me, and I cannot remember the name of the movie. I'll put a picture up here of the sort of poster or the main cover of the movie or whatever, so that you know what I'm talking about. But this kind of reminds me of that, helping someone find their perfect man by making them jealous. It's a sports romance, which is great because I love a bit of sports romance. I don't love sport, but for some reason, when you put sport and romance together, it just works for me. Hopefully this isn't too heavy on the hockey lingo. It is not a sport that I follow in any sense of the word, but yeah, I'm gonna get started at this book. As for my plans for the day, I think I'm gonna do what I did yesterday, where I literally just went to Waterstones into the cafe, ordered myself a chai latte, and sat and read for like 4 hours or something like that. I was there for a very long time. So I think I might go and do that today until about 3 p.m. when I have an appointment to get my hair done. I'm just getting it cut, washed, you know, maybe a blow dry. I'm not really sure. It's just feeling really sort of boring at the moment, and I want to get a bit more framing around my face. I don't know, we'll see. You'll see what that looks like when I come back in the next clip and actually have a bit of a hairdo to show off. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go read my book, get my hair done, chill at Waterstones in the cafe, order myself something nice, and I'll see you in a bit. absolute mess that is this background right now. I've currently got you propped up on a set of shelves because I can't find the little camera connecty bit that connects to my tripod, so I can't set you up, so it's like shifting you slightly. Anyway, that's a whole story that you do not care about. Sorry, my throat is like killing me. I don't know why, but anyway, I'm back. I have finished this book, The Deal by Elle Kennedy, and really enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5 stars because it's hard to kind of judge this one critically because of the fact that I guess I'm not really sure this is a book that I'm supposed to take too seriously, but I still did really enjoy reading it, and I think that's what matters. So yeah, 3.5 stars, definitely heavily weighted on the sort of enjoyment, intrigue, and atmosphere side of things. I thought the two main characters were fun, Garrett and Hannah. I thought they definitely had a lot of spunk to them. They had an interesting relationship to follow. They definitely had a lot of stereotypes in there and some somewhat problematic characteristics or traits, like the fact that Garrett was kind of unwilling to take no for an answer and Hannah was just incredibly indecisive. But I mean, they were fun characters to follow. I felt the romance, I felt the tension, I felt the angst and everything as they were getting to know each other, as they were having conflicts. I thought that their first conflict that they had in this novel that I thought was going to be the third act conflict, just happening really early, but it was a conflict that they resolved in this really mature way. I liked that that was included in the book, and I think a thing that I really liked about this book is the fact that you got a decent amount of time with these characters in an actual relationship and you get to experience them having a sort of healthy argument and resolving it in a very healthy way. So I think that's something that's very often missed out on in romance. Like they get the characters together and then they skip straight to the third act conflict. Whereas this one, you actually got to see what Garrett and Hannah were like as a couple, which made, I guess it made me feel way more invested in them staying together once the third act conflict actually happens. The third act conflict itself was obviously just a bit of a stereotype. I kind of saw it coming from a mile away. I had two sort of ideas in my head of what the third act conflict was going to be, and it definitely went down the route that I expected it to. I was thoroughly immersed in this read. Like I said, the tension, the angst, everything. I thought the writing was okay. It was like definitely very awkward at times, especially in dialogue. There are a lot of sort of grand declarations made that just felt really awkward, but generally, you know, I got the point across, I got the story across, and it had me feeling all the googly feelings when I was supposed to be feeling them. 3.5 stars, enjoyed this book, but now I get to spin for the next one. Before I do, obviously as you saw in my B-roll, I went to Greenwich today, and I've gotten into this habit lately of literally just going into Greenwich, sitting at the Waterstones Cafe and sitting there reading with like a coffee or one of their little biscuits or something for like 3-4 hours and just enjoying the sort of getting out of the house and the peaceful atmosphere and being around people that, you know, love books and that sort of thing, and, you know, earwigging on some conversations as like people talk about some of the books they're reading. And honestly, it was really fun and really peaceful. So I went and did that again today. So I've done that 2 days in a row now, and I'm just really glad that it's a habit that I'm starting. But yeah, so I went and did that, and then I went and got my hair done. You can't really sort of tell what I've had it done because they just blow dried it straight and it was just a little trim, but they did some shaping around my face, I guess, which you can kind of see, but that's kind of what I wanted because I experimented with bangs like many months back. If you've been on this channel for a while, you'll remember the bangs experiment, and I didn't particularly like it. And the residual impact, I guess, of the bangs experiment was I had these two like single strands of hair that would fall around my face, and I hate them. So the guy that I went and saw today, he made it like sort of fade into my normal hairline a bit more, did a bit of a fade into the length so that, you know, it just looks and feels a bit more natural and it feels a bit more like shaping rather than just two strands hanging down. But anyway, you don't need to know all of that detail. Let's do the next spin. I haven't removed the deal from this, so if I land on it, we'll just spin again. So let's get the little TBR wheel up. Sorry, this is just very awkwardly handled, and spin the next one, which is going to be whatever it's landed on, which is yellow, which is how much of these hills is gold. Oh, and I put that on the gold color. Oh, that's cute. I don't really know how long this vlog is going to be going for, so let's just get stuck into my next book, which is How Much of These Hills is Gold. This is definitely a TBR vet. It's one I got in a book box forever and ever ago. It was like a feminist book box, I think, and then I never actually got around to reading it. So as for what it's about, it says, in the American West during the gold rush, Lucy and Sam leave town with a gun in their hands and the body of their father on their backs. The siblings seek out a new way to live, but will their secrets bring them together or break them apart? This is apparently a debut novel, so fingers crossed. I absolutely love this. It's apparently daring and hauntingly epic, pure Gold, Boulder's debut of the year, all these sorts of things. So yeah, sounds like an exciting read. I'm just gonna jump straight in. It was a Barack Obama book of the year, so go this book. Let's figure out what I feel about it. This is not flattering lighting at all, but we're going with it. I want to do one more update before I go to bed tonight. And that is to say, unfortunately, I'm going to be soft DNFing How Much of These Hills is Gold by C. Pam Zhang for no other reason than I think this book deserves a lot more focus, a lot more sort of intense reading or comprehension, I guess, of the story than what I am currently able to offer it. I'm just spending a lot of this book, and I'm about 50 pages in, and I'm already spending a lot of it really confused in the way that it kind of jumps around, in the way that the main character, as she's taking you through each of the events that's happening in the moment to her, she's constantly like weaving in these like flashbacks or these past experiences she's had with her own family, and I presume that'll sort of reduce as the book goes on, but at least at the very beginning it's making it a very difficult reading experience. It's making it very confusing, and I genuinely think this is a book where I might need the audiobook, and I can't find an audiobook available either on my library or Scribd or anything that's not going to cost me money, and I do not have the money to spend on an audiobook at the moment. So I'm going to soft DNF this one. I will come back to it at a later date, just probably not anytime soon. And let's spin again and pick the next book. Okay, we've got the spinner. Let's go again and pick... What have we landed on? Is that Heart of the Sun Warrior or Red Queen? Okay, from my shot, it looks like I've landed on Red Queen on the green. So I'm gonna go grab that book. Hey, Editing Beth coming in with a real quick update, which is to say I am fully aware now that it landed on Heart of the Sun Warrior and not Red Queen, but I think when I turned the wheel of TBR around, it must have moved, so that's how I ended up with Red Queen. Don't come for me, I'm sorry, that's what I'm reading next, but hey, if it makes you feel any better, Heart of the Sun Warrior is actually what I'm reading right now at the minute that vlog ended, so I did end up reading it, just not exactly when Wheel of TBR told me to. Back to the video though. We are going to be giving Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard a go. This is one of those books where I recently saw it do the rounds on BookTube, like I think mid last year, maybe end of last year, and that sort of made me aware of it for the first time. This I think was one of those books that came out a few years ago and, you know, got the hype when it came out and then has since sort of dwindled. Yeah, so 2015 it first came out, and then yeah, got all the hype, got all the excitement. Everybody has read it in terms of historical BookTube, but I haven't because I obviously wasn't on here in 2015 and I was not an avid reader in 2015 either. So as for what this is about, it says, this is a world divided by blood, red or silver. The Reds are commoners ruled by a silver elite in possession of godlike superpowers. And to 17-year-old Mare, a red girl from the poverty-stricken stilts, it seems like nothing will ever change. But Mare possesses a deadly talent of her own, one that threatens to destroy the balance of power. Fearful of her potential, the Silvers hide Mare in plain view, declaring her a long-lost silver princess, knowing that one false move will mean her death. Mare must use her new position to bring down the regime from the inside. Now Mare has entered a game of betrayal and lies. This is Reds against Silvers, Prince against Prince, and Mare against her own heart. I am intrigued by this one, considering it was sort of well beloved, but I am slightly hesitant because I did attempt to read Realmbreaker by the same author and just really struggled to get past like the first couple chapters. So I soft DNF that one, hopefully to come back to it a later time when I get a bit more hype for the author, hopefully, which will be incited by this series. Anyway, I'm probably not making much sense because I'm so tired and it is my bedtime because it is almost 10 p.m. and it's gonna be a busy week next week, I can just tell. So I'm going to probably read like one chapter of this to get myself in the sort of sleeping mood and then go to bed, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. So I'll see you then. Bye bye. today I'm just jumping on my lunch break and I wanted to give you a quick update on my reading so far, and that is to say that I have finished Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I gave this book 3 stars. It's published in 2015, so it definitely is very reminiscent of its time in terms of, you know, characters, plot, fantasy setting, all that thing. It definitely felt like a sort of nostalgia read for me almost. I did see a lot of comparisons to like The Selection by Kira Cass, Hunger Games, Divergent, all those sorts of things. So it was a fun read, but very, very reminiscent of its time. As for my actual review, I did generally enjoy this book and reading about these characters, but I definitely think they showed their age, or they showed their immaturity, and the fact that this is a YA novel at particular moments throughout the book, especially in some of those sort of pivotal scenes, I guess, when you're supposed to feel a lot of tension and angst. For one, I simply didn't feel the tension and angst because I thought the book was a little bit predictable. I kind of knew what was going to happen because it is so reminiscent of those other books released at this time. But also you'd have these big moments where, you know, the main character goes, oh, this person will betray their entire family. They'll go against everything they've ever believed in because they love me. And it's simply not realistic, and it kind of makes me laugh. The girl that is the main character is loved by every guy she ever meets because for some reason there's something about her that is just like amazing and every guy wants to be with her, and that was definitely very much the case in this story as well. It's very unbelievable. You really have to just not think about it in order to enjoy the book. I did like being in her head in those sort of internal monologue moments where she would talk about how she's struggling with the fact that she really is coming to like or love the people in this sort of royal court that she's spending time with, but they also are so against everything she believes in and everything she was raised with in terms of the poverty and the heartbreak and the sacrifice and everything that her family had to deal with. Seeing that sort of conflict play out in her head was definitely really interesting. The setup was sort of similar to a lot of other fantasies, I think, of its time, so it felt very comfortable, very familiar in that sense. So it was really easy to get into the atmosphere because it was something that I'd read about so many times in the past, but it definitely wasn't anything outstanding. It wasn't anything that really reeled me in, had me feeling the tension in any kind of particularly enticing way. The writing, especially the dialogue, could be a bit cliche at times, like I said, but again, it delivered the point clearly, easily. It delivered the magic system very well. The plot was generally paced well. I liked that we spent a lot of time with the main character, Mare, at the beginning of the story in life as she'd always known it with her family, and you really got to witness the stakes of everything that would come to play in later on in the novel. So you got to understand why this was so important to her, why she jumps at rebellion, why she's so intently focused on sort of saving the Reds, but also understand the conflict that goes on in her mind as well when she's not willing to do everything that the rebellion wants to do in order to save the Reds. The majority of the story was still about her time in this court and building up this world, building up this sort of imbalance of power, and building up this, I guess, betrayal that sort of kickstarts the rest of the series. I did enjoy it. 3 stars. It was very nostalgic, very reminiscent of its time, and a good fun read that I'm glad that I've finally gotten around to, and I am keen to keep going with the rest of the series, but it's not by any means going to be a favorite series or anything. It was just a bit of fun. So we are going to do the final spin now before I close out this vlog. So let's get the wheel of TBR up and ready to go. I just gotta prop this up a little bit so you can see the little arrow. That's my ring light in the background there. I'll try and spin this so you can't see that. And let's get the next spin going, which is going to be Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. I'm really keen for this book. This is a book that I think has come out fairly recently. I've seen it all over Waterstones as their book of the month, I think, for March, or one of their books of the month for March. It's supposed to be an incredibly interesting kind of Groundhog Day, similar sort of style, as well as a murder mystery that's got a new spin because you know who committed the crime, but you don't know why. So instead of being a whodunit, it's kind of like a whydunit. But as for what it's about, it follows a mother who witnesses her son committing a murder, and she just cannot understand why and cannot understand what's led him to this point. So he gets arrested, I believe. She goes to bed that night completely distraught, and the next day she wakes up and it's the day before the murder. And every day after that, she wakes up another day before and another day before and another day before. The story, I believe, sort of revolves around her trying to figure out, like I said, why her son committed this murder, what led him to this point, and trying to figure out what she can do to stop it from happening. So I'm really intrigued to read this book and see that sort of Groundhog Day scenario play out with the murder mystery that has that different different spin on it. I think it's going to be a fascinating read. There's a reason why it's one of Waterstone's books of the month for this month, and I'm super keen. So I'm gonna get started on that book and I will update you once I've finished it, and then we can close out this vlog. Hello, it is Friday and it is the end of this vlog. It is time for me to close this up. I have finished Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. Loved it, gave it 5 stars. It was just, I mean, masterful is the only word that I can think of, like at the top of my mind, to describe this book. It was just masterful. Anyway, let's get into it. It is Friday, I'm on my lunch break, so just taking this time to wrap up this vlog. It's been a hectic week, so that's why I haven't updated until now. I actually finished this book a couple days ago, but it's been a mad week at work, so I haven't had a chance to update until right now to say that I finished Wrong Place, Wrong Time. I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It was an incredible story. I mean, the idea of a story being told backwards kind of scared me at first, because I really worried that the development of the characters would feel backwards, like it would feel that they were retreating potentially, or maybe we were just finding about their past and not exactly who they are now. But I think the way that it both made our main character, Jen, I think her name was, grow forwards while dealing with everything that had happened in the past and having this new perspective on everything that had happened in the past, because she was witnessing it all over again and noticing things she hadn't noticed in the past. It was incredible, and the way you were still able to really keep track of who Jen was becoming whilst also who she was in the past was fascinating. I loved how Gillian McAllister used swapping between these 2 POVs. This character named Ryan, who you don't really know much about other than the fact that he's joined the police force and goes undercover into this organized crime group. And then obviously you have Jen's perspective as she goes back in time. So the way Gillian McAllister used these 2 POVs to sort of drip feed little reveals in throughout the story, especially in Ryan's POV, he was definitely the sort of reveals person, and then using these to like link up the story in this really amazing way, like to give context to the actions of the characters that Jen was beginning to really doubt. So the way Ryan's POV was used to kind of make you love a character without realizing you were being made to love that specific character, because a lot of doubt was being thrown onto them in the other POV, so that by the time those big reveals are made, you still are able to forgive that other character in Jen's POV, because you realize that they were this person the entire time, and you've got their backstory and you've got their history that is able to not justify their actions, but sort of explain how they got to that point. I mean, I thought the way that those 2 point of views were merged together was absolutely incredible, and I'm doing a really bad job of explaining it. And I liked that Ryan, you kind of, for the majority of the book, you didn't really know who he was, how he played into everything. There were definitely moments throughout the book where it was like red herrings were put in of who he could potentially be, but you didn't really know what timeline Ryan was in and who he was or anything like that. And I liked that that sort of mystery was kept around that character, because it really aided with the whole feeling of sort of instability and disorder of this whole story and trying to fit all the pieces together. The atmosphere was intense as you were just trying to figure out all the different secrets, and as each secret was revealed or each sort of mini reveal happened, mainly in Ryan's POV, it was genuinely like a jaw-dropping moment, and it was so worth it for like, it was so worth the confusion, and that layer of just unknowing really enhanced the tension. And then, I mean, as you can probably guess, the writing was just amazing. Like, I am floored by how Gillian McAllister was able to keep track of everything, keep track of all the different threads that she was building throughout the novel, and wrap them up so seamlessly in these mini reveals that didn't reveal the entire plot of the story, but it just gave you just enough to keep you coming back. I mean, it was fascinating to read from these 2 perspectives as well, and for each character to feel so well built. I'm honestly amazed that Gillian McAllister was able to write these characters that were really flawed, and their actions were really wrong in some cases, but you were still really rooting for them because of their history and the backstory that was given in those different POVs. I think the jumps back in time were paced really, really well, in that they were sort of bunched in sort of day jumps at the very beginning of the book, and then it became like these year-long jumps. So it added to that layer of the atmosphere and this confusion and unknowing, because you didn't know just how far back she was gonna have to go, and there was that question in the back of the main character's mind, Jen, of just how far back is this going to take her? Is she going to end up just blinking out of existence because it takes her to the beginning of her life? But I also really enjoyed the sort of second plot line that was threaded through this book. So you had the murder mystery of the why done it, basically, but then you had this second plot line of Jen learning about herself and her priorities in the past, and really exploring how she'd always prioritized work, and learning a lot about how her relationship with her son had really deteriorated as a result over the many years. So there was even this moment in the story where she goes, maybe I'm not going back in time to solve this crime, maybe I'm going back in time to solve the relationship with my son. And I liked that that was so heavily emphasized as this sort of second plot line to follow in the story. I mean, all in all, this was a fascinating read. I think an incredible book to end this vlog on. I'm so amazed by this book, and I am so excited to pick up more of Gillian McAllister's work because I think this was incredible, and I can't wait to see what else she can do with these sort of like unconventional chronology storylines and books. I gave this one 5 stars. Loved it. Would 100% recommend it to literally anyone. But that is the end of this video. We are going to round it out here. So let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of the books I've mentioned in this video, what your thoughts are on them, or just what you're reading at the moment. Loving it, hating it, all that sort of thing. Come and chat to me in the comments down below. I love talking to you guys, and I do my best to reply to every single comment. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do let me know by liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell all down below. It is a super easy way to help my channel grow. Again, I am so grateful to you guys for already doing that so well already. But that's the end of this video, so I hope to see you in the next one very soon, and I can't wait to see what comes next. Bye.